People who have had friends stab you in the back. What is the story? Introduced my friend to my GF and she ends up cheating on me with him. I was medically discharged from the army 6 years ago. I met the woman who'd be the mother to my child and settled down with them. Very happy. About a year later I get a call from a guy that was basically the father I never had, and a mentor in ways, during my time in the army. He asked if I could be a character witness at a court-martial, where he was accused of downloading child porn on his laptop. The CP was definitely on his computer, but that's not something I knew him to do. Of course I agreed to go. So I left my girl and my 2-month-old daughter for a few days just to help this guy out. Turns out he needed a scapegoat. He was found not guilty, and all it cost was my reputation. Everyone I served with now thinks I downloaded child porn on his computer. Which lead to crippling depression, and major trust issues, making it impossible for me to get close to people. Just happened today actually. I threw a housewarming party for myself and invited 20-ish friends family over. It's been 1/2 hours and no one has shown up or bothered to call. I specified no gifts and supplied about $250 worth of food drinks that'll go to waste now. Had a friend from high school till about 4 years ago, about 8-9 years total friendship. He was a very close friend, and one day confided in my boyfriend, now husband, and I, that his roommate was moving out to live with his girlfriend and he wouldn't make rent that month. Boyfriend and I had an apartment lease ending, so decided we could be of help and moved in. 2 months before our lease was up, 2 rent payments. Lived there for about 2 months and we find out we're pregnant and having a baby. Happy scenario as roommate has informed us he wishes to turn over lease for the house to us to move back in with his parents. Perfect 3-bedroom house with 2 bathrooms and plenty of space. The day before we're set to meet up with the landlord, we come home to an eviction notice on the door and all of roommate's stuff is moved out. Call him, no answer. Call the number on the eviction notice from the landlord and find out he lied and never told the landlord anything. He won't even work with us at all, just said we have 30 days to GTFO. Roommate had been pocketing our rent money for months. Had 30 days to unexpectedly find a new place, pay first and last month and a security deposit, and move in the middle of Michigan winter, while pregnant. Fucking piece of shit. Maybe not that severe, but I was really close to a guy in theater when he one day just told me I was fucking annoying, and I've been much quieter since then. It's been years and to this day I try not to talk too much so I don't annoy anybody. My high school friend group ditched me, and the few people, a whopping 2 of them, who supported me, after I called out our sort of ringleader for sexually harassing me. The worst part is that most agreed I was in the right, too. They all just felt closer to him I guess, and thought he deserved actually, another, second chance. Though to be honest I think at its core the issue was that I made them uncomfortable afterwards. Fast forward 3 or so years and I no longer even interact with the larger social scene we were connected to, or really any social scene, which is disheartening because it's like I was cut off almost on accident. Meanwhile, the person I called out still gets invited to poetry open mics, art galleries, and is happily supported by a lot of the same people they were back then, all while successfully in university. I'm glad they've recovered and found themselves a bit. They had some huge problems, but I reserve my right to be bitter. Sometimes I feel like it's all I have. I was in the hospital having my first child. 2 of my friends were going around telling anyone who would listen that my boyfriend wasn't the father. My boyfriend never doubted me and our son looks just like a mini version of him 15 years and 3 more kids later. The boyfriend is now my husband and those friends have been out of our lives for a long time now. A friend of mine told me to go kill myself just like the rest of my family over me not going to his house. To clarify, I have 1 dead sister due to suicide, and 2 brothers they attempted, so let's just say I'm not his friend anymore. I let a friend borrow part of my plastic dinosaur collection. It was pretty extensive and I was really proud of it. I was in a cramped dorm and at the time I appreciated that they weren't taking up space for a few weeks. I went to her room a few days before I moved out to get them back and she locked her door and wouldn't let me in. I went back every day and sent other friends to try to get them, but to no avail. The day I moved out she wasn't home and left the door unlocked, so I let myself in and she had hidden them so I could only find one. I still have my half of the collection, but still can't believe what went down, considering we were both women in our 20s. Not a friend, but a sister. I had this enormous crush on this guy. I was too shy to talk to him and just adored him from afar. Sister says be his secret admirer, that way he can get to know you. For a month I put notes and cards in his car a few times a week. One weekend, sis and I go out and I see him. I point him out and tell her that's the guy I'm in love with. She tells me she's going to go talk to him about me and get us hooked up. I wait for 30 minutes, she doesn't return. I go inside the restaurant they are in, turn a corner to find her making out with him. That was a devastating blow. Friend knew I had a crush for a girl, he kept giving me strength. A few weeks later I knew, by a third friend, they were, sort of, dating. Bottom line, after all that crap was sorted out, the girl started dating the other guy. A girl I knew in college invited me over with her friends to watch Supernatural or something like it. I wasn't a fan of the show or whatever. Afterwards I was like, it was alright. I thought she was fine with this. She was not. She smashed a lamp into my face. It didn't break, but it did hurt. She kept telling me how wrong I was. Her friends told me she is just like that. When I was about 25, my, now former, best friend since 4th grade told me that during middle school, when I was painfully awkward and for sure the weird kid, she and my other former best friend would deny being my friend to everyone else. They would tell people that they only let me think we are friends because they feel sorry for me. Learning that broke my heart. I thought that we were so close, we hung out every weekend during school and even lived together after high school. Those were my only friends during those tough childhood years, and finding out that they weren't really my friends was so shitty. I was picked on a lot, and always took solace in having two real best friends, even if they were my only friends. And then they stayed my friends into adulthood, except now I'm not sure about that either. Couldn't trust her after that. I was sexually assaulted in college. I went through the school's horrible reporting process. The dean of students tried to have a man-to-man conversation with my assailant during the hearing, and I wasn't able to have my attorney speak for me. I had to cross-examine my sexual assailant myself. The school found him responsible, but didn't kick him off campus. Instead, he got a one-day program on consent as his punishment. It was horrible. I tried to be a normal person, even though I lived within 1 square mile of my sexual assailant for 2 years and I was generally a mess. I would see him all the time. I relied heavily on a group of women in the women's center and the director of the center. They were my lifeline when I wasn't in therapy twice per week. There was one person I was very close to. We can call her W. She had been through some tough stuff too. She encouraged me as I started to date someone, who we'll call C, and regain some remote semblance of normality. What I didn't know was that C was, credibly, accused of a rape right before we started to date. W knew about it because her boyfriend helped the victim report anonymously, but didn't tell me because she thought I was happy for the first time in a long time. I actually struggled throughout the entire relationship. C would guilt me into having sex with him, and it devolved into other unhealthy things. Before and during the relationship, W told everyone in the women's center about the report of a rape involving C. It was apparently a frequent topic of conversation, despite the fact that confidentiality is supposed to practiced very strictly regarding rape reports so that the victim is protected from possible retaliation. When I finally made the decision to break up with C, I called W to tell her. She then casually offered something that she thought would help me break up with him. He was reported for raping someone right before we started dating, and she identified the victim to me, and told me that no one told me because they didn't want me to be unhappy. All of the people in the women's center broke confidentiality to tell each other about it, but apparently they didn't consider the one person who didn't know their own safety was at risk every minute with CW then said in an effort to justify the everything, but it's okay, you taught him how to have a consensual relationship. I ended the phone call and found myself in the worst depths of depression for days. I decided to cut all of those people involved out of my life. What kind of friends don't make reasonable efforts to look out for my personal safety? To this day, I still don't trust other women. Or anyone, really. I had some friends who lived in my street. They were literally the best friends I ever had. At the time, we were playing footy in the park and my friend fell over. His phone screen was smashed. Old school Walkman phone, this was 10 years ago. Said I should pay for it. I was like, no way man, if you play footy with a phone in your pocket and it gets broke, that's your fault. Next thing you know, all the friends turned against me and alienated me in the village I lived in. I got really depressed because my best friend from school, who I'm still best friends with now, lived 45 minutes away. Next thing I knew, pizzas were being delivered and the police were being called to my house by all these restaurants. Then I started getting stones thrown at my house. My dad's BMW got vandalized and other stupid stuff, and my phone kept getting random calls from numbers I didn't know threatening violence. Turns out the phone was smashed before the game of football and he thought my parents would just replace it. When I said no, they decided they didn't much care for me and wanted to see how far they could get with terroring my family. It got dealt with though, and I was best man at my friend's wedding this year, and him and my other best friend have each other's back 100%. Edit. The kids from the village have go nowhere lives and I'm considerable better off without the negativity. Came out to a big Christian girl. Girl told her parents. Parents told my parents. She can rot in hell. My roommate, whom I had supported through and basically coached to finish his first marathon when no one else showed up. He worked behind my back to get my GF to break up with me at the time. First in a long line of people to betray me and for reasons I can never understand. Was in the midst of a messy breakup. Friend told me he was there for me and that he knew I was hurtin' and that shit wasn't all my fault. Basically he was there to listen and keep me from losing my shit etc etc. Tried to call him up on Friday night, couple days after he said all that. Couldn't get him on the phone, but oh well. Friday night and all. Ex called me the next day all confessional and told me she'd hooked up with him and she was sorry and that she knew it was a shit thing to do. Called him, asked him all innocent like how was your Friday, what did you get up to etc, just all casual. He was nervous but managed to stammer out some lie. I called him out on it and told him I knew what he was doing, fucking my soon-to-be ex-wife. He got all sorry dude on me. Fuck that guy. Never spoke to him again. Can't come back from that. Wasn't even the fucking her that got to me. It was the lying. Friends don't piss on your back and tell you it's raining. A roommate I got along with more than a friend, but here goes. I lived near the Gulf of Mexico during Hurricane Katrina and my house, among many others, was rendered uninhabitable. Housing was scarce so I used roommates.com or something and moved to a trailer park in a woman's spare bedroom. I had 2 dogs. She told me she put me on the lease and dogs were okay. Landlord came by and it turned out I wasn't on the lease and dogs were not allowed. Also, my German Shepherd got knocked up and just had puppies. Landlord was furious and not at all sympathetic to my plight. She called the sheriff and they'd arrest me if I wasn't out by early AM. Sheriff confirmed this. I was young and didn't think to legally contest this. It was time to go. Relationship with the roommate obviously soured. I think a couple days before this I sold 2 puppies to a neighbor. My shit roommate let my shepherd outside and went to work. My dog found the puppies and her instincts to protect them made her snap at the neighbor. No bites or scratches, but with kids they decided to give the pups back. So now I also have the cops saying my dog would be put in a pound if found outside. Day before I had to move out I had a full day of work. Said what was up to my roommate and to not leave my dog outside. She left my dog outside and went to work herself. So I come home to find my poor dog had been outside all day, roaming free in a trailer park. I moved out, with the landlady and sheriff watching me and laughing. I was broke, found a couch to crash on, but no dogs allowed. Paid to have my shepherd boarded till I found a home but had to take the other dog and all the puppies to a shelter. All my family was 800 miles away. Nothing I could do. So yeah, I don't even remember the woman's name but I'll never forget what she did. We were getting ready for a party. They told me to go to the store to get blunts while they were breaking my 1/4 ounce of weed down. I went and came back, app was locked and everyone gone. I lived with them so I was knocking on the door for their mother to answer, not a single thing for 30 minutes, it's late at night and cold. I slide open the window and immediately the mother goes off on me. She was standing there not answering the whole time. So after all of that we get into a massive argument. Everyone comes back from the party and they smoked all of my weed before returning. They didn't even reimburse me. Then I had to move that weekend because of the fact that I tried to enter the house through the window. Bringing this up just made me upset because this was one of those things I put aside and did nothing about. They talked shit about me in a different language, in front of me. I'm not saying you can't speak your own language, you definitely can. It was just really clear they were talking about me. They pointed and giggled and when I asked what they were talking about, they'd always say it was nothing. I always let it slide because I didn't have enough courage to ask them what's up. I considered them to be my best friends. One of the girls also screenshotted a text that I sent when I reached rock bottom. That night I cried myself to sleep on the floor. I didn't think I should be alive, and I trusted them with my problem. I found out that she screenshotted me when I was deleting her old pictures from recently deleted to free up some space when she asked me to take good pictures of her. I didn't think it'd be a big deal, We were kids, so there wasn't anything she would have to hide that's inappropriate. I never confronted her about it. To this day, I don't know who she sent that to. On graduation day, none of my best friends talked to me except once when the same girl who screenshotted my texts asked me to walk her to the washroom because she was wearing high heels. They also kicked me out of their table and didn't take any pictures with me. And X200B. I'm very definite that I wasn't the best kid at that time, I'm still not, and that I've also done bad things at that time that have most likely hurt others. But damn, it really hurt me when I noticed all of this a year later.